Lesson 32, Part 2 is still subtracting mixed numbers, but now we're going to be doing that with borrowing. So go ahead and get the title down into your notes and push play when you're ready to begin. And before we go into this lesson too much, I want to review what a mixed number is, because understanding the concept of what the mixed number is really important to what you're going to be doing for this lesson. The mixed number 2 4/5, if I were to show you a picture of that in pizza form, I would have 1, 2 full pizzas. That is, the 2 is representing the full pizzas that I have not cut up yet. So we're not ready to eat them, I have not cut them up. 4/5 would be this pizza that is cut into 5 equal pieces, and maybe 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, have been eaten. So, or haven't been eaten, whichever the question is. But 4/5 is the 4 that are for the numerator there. So 2 4/5 would look like this in pizza form. If I needed, let's say, 6/5, well, 4/5 would be that, and then another one is 5/5, so now I've used 5/5. But let's say I needed 6/5. Well, I would have to take one of these 2 pizzas, one of these, and cut it up. So I would say I'm going to cross that 2 off, and I'm going to take one of them out. So there's just one left, representing one that's not cut. And I would cut up this one into 5 equal pieces. And that would give me 5 more to pull from so that I could have 6/5. Let's say I needed 12/5. In that case, I would have the 5 from this one, the 5 from this one, that's 10, and I would borrow from my whole number and cut this next whole one into 5 equal pieces. And I would use, I've already got 10, so I just need 2 more to make 12, and I would use those. So this is what's going to be happening with your borrowing, is that you're going to be taking an uncut pizza and cutting it up into the amount of pieces your denominator says to. So let's kind of go ahead and see if it makes sense as we go along. Hopefully that explained the picture idea of it kind of helps as we go through. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through this process and use the borrowing should we need to. So we have 4 1/3 minus 1 6/9. And just like the previous lesson, when we were subtracting mixed numbers, I had told you start with the fractions first if we're subtracting, because that way if we do need to borrow, you have the ability to do that. So we're going to start with just the fractions, 1/3 minus 6/9. And if we do this all the same way, and by now you're probably getting really confident and really comfortable with adding and subtracting fractions. So this is done the same way. So we go through all the same steps, use the LCM, because we need to find a number that these both will match up at, the lowest number they will both match up at, so that we have a common denominator. And so we just go ahead and find the LCM. Some of you see it right away, so you're skipping this step at this stage. 3 goes into both of them. 3 fits into 3 once, and 3 fits into 9 3 times. Now I'm stuck. There's nothing that goes into both 1 and 3 other than 1. 3 times 1 times 3. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 is the number that both of them will meet at. And now I go ahead and do some bullying. Bully the fractions so that they are equivalent. What did I do to 3 in order to get him to become a 9? I multiplied him by 3. And I do the same thing to his best friend. 1 times 3 is 3. I didn't have to do anything to the 9. Well, 9 times 1, I mean, same thing. And so I do 6 times 1, which is 6. Okay. And so now I'm ready for step 3, which is subtract. Except, look what happens. Oh no. 3 take away 6. I can't do that without going negative. 3 take away 6 would be negative 3, except that what I have to keep in mind, and here's where my talk about whole pizzas and cut up pizzas comes back into play. What I have to keep in mind was that this 3/9, which was the same thing as this 1/3, wasn't alone. I had 3/9 of a pizza, but I still have 4 uncut pizzas. So really what I have is, okay, so really what I have is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/3 of the pizza, 1 out of 3 cut pieces. And what I did when I beat this up was I just recut the pizza into 9 equal pieces, and you'll see that when I recut it into 9 equal pieces, now the same amount that was taken was 3, so it's equivalent. That's the equivalent fraction. That's why we're multiplying top and bottom by the same, is to keep it the same amount of pizza. So what I have then is I still have these 4 pizzas I can use, and I need more than just 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow from the 4. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to cut it into 9 equal pieces. The reason I chose 9 is because that's my denominator, and I need to have a common denominator anyway. I may as well cut it into the exact pieces that I need. And so there's 9 pieces there. And I already have, and I haven't touched any of them. I still have the 9 of them. So I'm going to put 9. It's there. And I'm going to add it to the 3 I already have. So these I'm going to put together, and it's going to give me 12/9. And now I have enough to subtract. Forgot to mark that I took one of those. 12 minus 6 is 6. And now it's back to the steps that you're familiar with. Convert if you need to. He's already a proper fraction. He's a right side up snowman, so he's happy. I don't need to convert. Reduce if you can. I really can reduce because 3 divides evenly into both 6 and 9. So if I divide by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And also divide by 3, 9 divided by 3 is 3. And I bring that fraction up. That was just all the work for the fraction. And so now I've completed my fractions. And then I go back just like I did in the previous lesson. 3 take away 1 is 2, and that's the answer. Most of those steps you probably understand very, very well. But this step right here, the borrowing, you're probably looking at going, I'm not sure I understood that very well. So let's do another we do. And on this we do, I'm going to do a couple of these, and I'm not even going to ask you to do any of the steps for subtraction. All I'm going to ask you to do is borrow, borrow, borrow. And let's practice that step, because that's the new step. So let's practice that step a couple times, and then we'll put it all together again. So if I had 2 1/3, and I needed to borrow for that 1/3, here's how that's going to look. I'm going to have the 2 whole ones, and then I have the 1/3 that I'm going to improve upon. So I would take one, this 2 reflects these. I'm going to take one of these uncut pizzas, which is going to only leave me with 1 uncut. So I'm going to cross it off and say 1 now, because I'll have 1 uncut. And I'm going to cut it into exactly the same amount of pieces as my denominator. So I'm cutting it into 3 equal pieces. And they're all still there. All the pieces are still there. I haven't done anything with them. Remember, any number over itself is 1. So it's still 1 pizza, but now it's cut up. So I have 1 uncut pizza and then 2 cut pizzas. And I'm going to put those 2 cut pizzas together. So basically you're adding them together, and you're going to have 4/3. Yes, I realize that this is an improper fraction, and that was the point. We're trying to put it back into a little bit extra, because we just won't have enough if we don't otherwise. So we go ahead and put it into improper fraction form. And remember, improper means that you have an extra full one that hasn't been eaten yet. So we were aware of that. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's do 4 2/5. Okay, and we're going to start kind of doing this without the pizza there so you can kind of see the process. We have 4. We're going to take one of those and cut it up. So we'll only have 3 left. So we're going to have 3. And we're going to cut the one that we stole from here, or borrowed from there, whatever you want to call it. We're going to take the one that we borrowed from there, and we're going to cut it into 5 pieces, though, because our denominator is 5, and it's just easier to keep it the same. So we still have the 5 out of 5 pieces there. We haven't taken any out of there yet. And we're going to put it together with the 2 out of 5 from the other one. So that's going to give us 7 out of 5. So now we're faced with 3 7/5. And then we'll do our calculations from there. Let's see, one more. 3 1/8. And we want to borrow. So we're going to take one of those 3 and cut it up, so we now only have 2 left. And so we have the 1/8 already. And what we're going to do is cut that one we just borrowed from here into 8 pieces, because our denominator is 8 already. We may as well cut it into 8. So remember, any number of itself is still 1. So this is that whole pizza, plus the 2 here would have been 3. So we still have the 1. We haven't lost him. He's there still. He's just cut up now. And, okay, sorry, my phone rang. All right, so anyway, we're putting these together so that we know how many 8s we have. And basically that's addition then. So 8 plus 1 is 9/8. So you'll have 2 9/8 pizzas now. Still, it's 3 full pizzas because you're looking at that improper fraction here. But now it's ready to be subtracted. All right, so we've practiced this a few times. Let's go on to a we do that does all the steps. Okay, so we'll do this one together. Now, don't go trying to borrow right away and set things up here right away, because sometimes you'll get going through it and you'll realize, oh, I need to borrow. And sometimes you'll go through it and realize, no, I don't need to. And we don't know until we get these common denominators and these beat up fairly. So we just won't know. Even if it looks like you might need to, 2 take away 4, it looks like we might need to, except that that's 2 take away 4 if you had a same denominator. We're going to be beating these things up, so we're not sure yet. So we go through all these steps before we hit that borrowing, and if we need to borrow, we're going to notice it right at this step right here. Until then, we don't know. So here's what we'll do. We'll do the fractions first, like we did in the previous lesson. That was no problem. We need to get a common denominator, so we need to find out where these 2 numbers will meet up at. And if you can count ahead by 9s and by 6s and find out where they meet real quickly, you might be able to find it real quick. If not, this is another quick way to find it. The LCM is used to find out when 2 numbers will meet up, the lowest number they'll meet up at. 3 divides evenly into both of those. 3 fits into 9 3 times, and 3 fits into 6 2 times. And now we're stuck, so we'll multiply the L for that. 3 times 3 times 2. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 2 is 18. So our LCM is 18. That's the lowest number that both 9 and 6 will meet up at. So we're going to make that our common denominator. What do I need to do to 9? I'm on bully the fractions. What do I need to do to 9 to get him to become an 18? Multiply times 2. And I do that to his best friend. 2 times 2 is 4. What do I need to do to 6 to get him to become an 18? Multiply him times 3. And I do that to his best friend. 4 times 3 is, that's a 3, sorry. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so now we're at the step, that's the moment of truth, subtract numerators. And do I have enough or do I need to borrow? So I'm going to do, if the denominator stays the same, I'm going to do 4 minus 12. Well, I can't do 4 take away 12 without going negative. It would have been negative 8. But I'm not going negative because I still have pizza left. It's not like I didn't have enough pizza to give them and I'm owing people pizza. I still have pizza, I just haven't cut it up yet. So I'm going to go cut up one of those pizzas. So there were 5 uncut pieces. I'm taking one of those. I'm going to bring it on down here. And I'm going to cut it into 18 pieces because this is already cut into 18 pieces. May as well make my life easy. I still have all 18 of them there. I still have them all. I haven't done anything with them. But I am going to combine them with these that I have right here. So now I have 18 plus 4, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 18s. And yes, that's now improper. That's why it's improper, though, because we just gave a whole nother pizza. There's a hole there. It's cut up is all. But now we have enough to do our subtraction. And 22 minus 12 is 10. Now, convert if I need to. Well, this is now a proper fraction because I had taken 12 out of there. So it's a proper fraction. The little head is on top of the big body, so I'm good. I don't need to convert. Reduce it, though. I can reduce it. 2 goes into both of those numbers evenly, so I'm going to go ahead and divide 2 out of them. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So I've got 5/9 as my fraction. But remember, that only was dealing with these fractions. And then just like the previous lesson, we just went ahead and took care of the rest. I have 4 now instead of 5 because I borrowed. 4 take away 2 is 2. And so there's my answer. So everything is the same as the last lesson, and you did pretty well on the last lesson. The only difference is this step of borrowing. So that's why I made it its own lesson, so that you only had to learn that one extra piece. Rewind this video to... Oh, we still have the you-do. We'll go to the you-do. Hang on. Okay, let's try it and see how you do. And you might get stuck and you might not. Let's see if you can get through to get an answer. You do 3 1/4 subtract 1 6/8. Give it a try and then push play when you've got an answer. Alright, so hopefully you have some sort of an answer there. And let's see how you did, and you can erase and fix whatever you need to as you go along. We're going to start by just doing the fractions first. 1/4 minus 6/8. That way those whole numbers are there in the event that we need to borrow. We don't know if we need to borrow yet. We won't know until we get down here. But we'll find out. So the first thing I need is a common denominator. And some of you might see that what the denominator is going to be. But it's the lowest number that I would meet up at if I counted by both of these numbers. If you don't see it right off the bat, that's okay. Just do this step to find the LCM. 4 goes into both of those numbers evenly. 4 fits into 4 once. 4 fits into 8 twice. Now I'm stuck. Multiply your L. 4 times 1 times 2. 4 times 1 is 4. And 4 times 2 is 8. 8 is the lowest number that both of those numbers will meet at. Now I go on to bully the fractions. So what do I need to do to 4 in order to get him to become an 8? I need to multiply him by 2. And I have to do the same to his best friend to keep that fraction equivalent. To 8, I just multiply him by 1, and the same to his best friend. Alright, here I am at the moment of truth. Subtract numerators. 2 take away 6. Well, you see, I can't do 2 take away 6 without going negative. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here to borrow from the 3. Because remember, this 2/8 is the equivalent version of the 1/4. So we're still dealing with this number. We were just only looking at his fraction form. Well, we still have these 3 full pizzas. So we're going to cut one of them up. So now I only have 2 that are not cut. And when I cut that one up that I sent down here, I may as well cut them into 8 slices. I have all 8 slices there. And put it together with the 2 I already have. So basically you're adding them together. 8 plus 2 is 10. And now I'm ready just to continue on the steps that I know how to do. So now I can subtract the numerators. That was supposed to be the pointer. Now I can subtract the numerators. 10 take away 6 is 4. And I convert if I need to, but that's a proper fraction already, so I don't need to convert. Reduce if I need to. Sure, I can reduce that. Both of these, 4 divides evenly into both of them. So it's going to be 4 divided by 4, 1. 8 divided by 4, 2. 1/2. And that's the fraction part. So now I've taken care of that and that. And so now I'm going to do 2 take away 1, which is 1. And your answer is 1 1/2. Now you might need to rewind to go back to some of the borrowing steps and see it and hear them again. It might be a little hazy, but it might start to click as you kind of see it happen again. So rewind where you need to until you feel pretty good about the borrowing part and pretty good about tackling the closure. When you're ready, come get the closure and give it a shot. If you've rewinded and listened to it again and you're still a little confused, come see me so we can talk about it a little more together and get you straightened out. So, all right, see you soon.